Hey guys, it's Shamsa and welcome back to my little kitchen. Today's recipe is mutton and potato pilau rice. Gonna pop this down here. It's the perfect dish. It's got tender pieces of mutton. You've got soft and fluffy potatoes. You've got the rice cooked in that aromatic broth and it is perfect. It's got a slight spice kick to it, so just be warned. If you wanted to keep it sort of like for children, a little bland, just leave the chilies out, but honestly it is wonderful. The kitchen is now full of this warm, aromatic aroma from the pilau rice. Now, before I tuck into this and tell you guys exactly how it is, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your bell notifications on. If you find the video helpful and you like it, please give the video a thumbs up, show your support. We need that support from you guys to continue making wonderful recipes that you guys can enjoy at home. Now I'm going to try this and tell you guys exactly how it is. We normally serve this up with a raita, which is just like a yogurt with cucumbers and onions and tomatoes in it, and it's perfect. So here goes. Potatoes fully cooked. Sorry if you can't see that. There you are, fully cooked potatoes. And the mutton. I mean, you could use lamb if you wanted to for this recipe, but I just find mutton a lot more flavoursome. But here goes, bismillah. Oh, that's hot. Potatoes really hot. Absolutely delicious. You can taste every spice in there. That rice is just beautifully flavoured with all those spices. Guys, please try the recipe out. Let me know how you find it in the comments below. Share it with your family and friends. And now we're going to run through the ingredients with you quickly and then we'll start cooking. So the ingredients you're going to need is mutton. Now I'm using mutton today because I feel that mutton has a lot more flavour when you're cooking pilau dishes or biryanis, but you can go ahead and use lamb if you wanted to. I've got here leg, which is on the bone. I've had it cut into chunky pieces, and this is 1 kg's worth of mutton. I've got here 750 grams of rice. I'm using VT extra long basmati rice. I've washed it and I've soaked it just before I started to prep the ingredients. So you want to soak your rice for at least 30 minutes before you actually add them into your water to cook or your stock to cook with. I've got here potatoes. We absolutely love potatoes in all our curries and especially a good pilau dish. So I'm adding potatoes in. If you don't like them, leave them out. But I've got here 700 grams of red potatoes. And again, there were 3 of them and I've kind of chopped them the same size as the mutton pieces because I don't want them to cook too quickly compared to the mutton. I've got here 1 large onion, which I've finely sliced. This weighs 300 grams in weight. And I've got 3 fresh tomatoes, which I've roughly chopped up 200 grams in weight. I've got here 3/4 of a cup of oil. Use whichever you wish. I use an olive oil blend. I've got here for the stock. Now we're going to be making a stock which is called a yakhni. It's also known as a broth as well. This is used to flavour the rice, and for that you need 1 tomato and 1 onion. Again, I haven't measured these ingredients because they're only going into a stock, so just slice them in half. And we have some whole spices here. We've got 2 sets of spices, 1 for the stock and 1 for the rice. Now for the stock, I've got here, first of all, 1.5 tablespoons of salt. I've got 1 tablespoon of the following: coriander seeds, fennel seeds and cumin seeds, whole. I've got 2 black cardamom pods and 3 green cardamom pods. I've got 2 bay leaves. I've got 2 cinnamon sticks, roughly the size of my thumb. And I've got 1 teaspoon of black peppercorns and the same of cloves. And the set of ingredients, the spices that go into the rice, are similar but slightly different as well. So no salt because obviously the stock is seasoned with salt. So I've got here 1 tablespoon of ground coriander powder, cumin seeds, 1 teaspoon again of black peppercorns and cloves, 2 black cardamom pods, 2 cinnamon sticks, roughly the size of my thumb, and 3 bay leaves. Now to add a little bit of a spice kick to it, I'm using dried Kashmiri chillies today. These add a really nice flavour and a colour to the dish once you start plating up, and it's wonderful, but it's not going to give you the really hot heat. It's going to be mild. Now for heat, I've got here my ginger, garlic and chilli paste, which I made. Now I used 35 grams of fresh garlic cloves, ginger and chillies, and added 1 tablespoon of water into that and ground it down to this paste. And we're using 2 tablespoons of that paste. The rest of it I've placed into my freezer and I'll use it whenever I need it. And we also need water. We need approximately 1.5 litres of water. So let's start cooking. Right, okay, so the first step is to make the stock, which is going to flavour the rice using the meat and the spices. Now for that I'm using my pressure cooker today because it's going to speed the process up. And if you don't have a pressure cooker, please don't panic. You can make this in a normal pot, but just remember it will take slightly longer. If you're looking for a pressure cooker and you want one, please check out my Amazon affiliate link, which is in the description box. You can purchase one like this and make your life easy as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my washed meat into that. And now I'm going to go in with my water, which I've got boiled. So I'm using boiled kettle water, again speeds the process up. So I'm going to add 1 litre in first. And then the other half. Then the tomato and the onion go in. And then the first set of spices along with the salt goes in as well. Just give everything a mix. And now we're going to turn our hob on and we're going to turn it to full power, which is a 9 for my hob. And we're going to allow this to come up to temperature. So we're going to bring it to a boil and then I'll show you what you need to do next. Right, okay, so this has come up to the boil now. I'm going to put the lid on, secure it by locking it, and I'm going to turn the dial to the 2 mode, which is the pressure cook mode for meat, and I'm going to allow this to pressure cook now for the next 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll show you how it looks in approximately 30 minutes time, because that's how long it's going to take for this to cook. And in the meantime, you don't need to do anything. The heat setting is still currently on a 9, which is a high heat setting, and I'll show you how this looks in around 30 minutes time. Right, okay, so it's been 25 minutes that I've been pressure cooking the meat and it's now done, and I'm going to check now to see whether it's ready or not. So I've released the pressure. I'm just going to remove the lid to show you. Just grab my spoon and we're just going to grab a piece of meat, and that is done. So that's more or less 85% cooked, 90% cooked. And all we need to do at this stage is remove the meat from the stock and set that aside, strain the stock and just reserve it for later, and I'll move on to the next stage of the recipe. Right, okay, so the next step is to fry our onions, and I've got myself a nice large pot. Now, one of the things to remember is when you're making any rice dish which has meat or potatoes in it, you want to use a pot which is bigger in size, because when rice cooks, it obviously expands and you want to be able to have nice, fluffy, separated grains of rice. So always go for a bigger pot. I've got my pot here. It's on the hob. My heat setting is currently on a 7, which is a medium-high heat setting for my hob. And I'm going to go straight in with the oil first and just give that a couple of seconds just to heat up and come up to temperature. And then I'm going to add the spices, the second set of spices. I'm going to add everything apart from the coriander powder. So all that goes in. Just give that around 20 to 30 seconds just to infuse that oil. And then the onions go in. And we're going to fry the onions for approximately 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, until they're nicely golden brown in colour. And I'll show you how they look once they're done. Right, it's been around 8 minutes that I've been frying the onions, and you can see that they've taken on a lovely dark golden brown colour, and that's what you want. And into this I'm just going to add a splash of water. The water was added to stop them from frying any further, and this is the colour that you're looking for. So you want the onions in a pilau to be slightly darker, because this is the colour that's going to transfer onto the rice, which is really important. Now I'm going to add to this the ginger, garlic and chilli paste, and we're just going to fry that off until we get rid of the rawness, so around a minute or 2. And I'm also at this stage going to add my dried Kashmiri chillies in there as well. My heat setting is on a 6, I just turned it down a little. And then into this I'm going to add my tomatoes, and at the same time we're going to add our potatoes in first. Right, so now we're going to cook our potatoes for approximately 8 to 10 minutes. And I'm just going to turn my heat setting up to 7, which is a medium high heat setting for my hob. And we're going to cook the potatoes until they're approximately 80% done. And then we're going to add the meat in after that. So once the potatoes are more or less cooked, then we're going to add our meat, because our meat is approximately 85 to 90% ready and it doesn't need much cooking. So I'll see you guys back around 8 to 10 minutes time, and by that time the potatoes will be done and we'll move on to the next stage of the recipe. Oops, totally forgot to say, we're going to add our coriander powder into this as well now. And also, whilst you're cooking your potatoes for the next 8 to 10 minutes, if you want to add small amounts of water into this, you can do, which I will be doing. So once the tomatoes sort of like release their moisture and dry up, within the next 8 to 10 minutes, just keep adding small amounts of water and cooking them, and I'll see you guys back in around 10 minutes time. Right, okay, so it's been around 10 minutes that I've been cooking the potatoes, and you can see that the oil has started to separate and come around the edges and to the surface. And now at this stage we're going to add our meat in, and we're going to cook this for around 5 to 6 minutes with the potatoes. And again, just add small amounts of water into this if you need to, and around 6 minutes time I'll show you how it looks, and then we'll be ready to add the stock in. Right, okay, so it's been 6 minutes that I've been running the mutton with the potatoes, and now we can add our stock in. Now I've got here a litre of stock which I strained, and I'm going to add all of that in, because for every 3 mugs or cups of rice I use 4 cups of water or stock. So we've got 4 cups here, and I'm just going to turn my hob up, so we have to turn it down, so full power, and just bring this up to the boil. And in the meantime I'm going to go drain my rice. Right, one thing you want to do at this stage is to check the salt levels in your stock. This should be perfect according to this recipe, but it's always good to check. And you want your stock, you want your water that you're going to be adding your rice into to be slightly over salty. So I'm just going to do that now. That is perfect. If at this stage, if the salt was slightly less, I would have added more, but for this recipe it's absolutely perfect. And by the way, my husband just wandered into the kitchen and said that smells incredible, so do try the recipe out. Right, okay, so it's boiling away nicely and I've drained my rice, and we can add that straight in, and very gently we want to mix the rice in. My heat setting is still on the 9, which is a high heat setting. Right, so you can see that the stock is now bubbling away. It's come back up to temperature. We're going to pop the lid on at this stage, and we're going to cook this now and make sure all of that stock in there evaporates. And my heat setting is still currently on a 9, and you know, I'm going to keep an eye on it, obviously keep stirring it gently, and once it's fully evaporated, there's hardly any water left in there, we're going to start the Dhum process, which is the steaming. So I'll see you guys back when the water has evaporated. Right, so I'm just going to take the lid off and show you guys how it looks, and you can see now that there's very little moisture left in there. And I'm going to turn my hob setting down to a 3 now, which is a low heat setting for my hob. And at this stage we're going to start the steaming process, which is known as giving Dhum. So I've got myself a clean tea towel, and I'm just going to cover that and pop the lid back on again. And the tea towel really helps because it just allows the rice to steam nicely, and all we do is just turn up the edges, and we're going to leave that to cook away for approximately 15 to 20 minutes on heat setting 3, which is a low heat setting for my hob. And after 15 to 20 minutes I'm going to show you how it looks. Right, okay, so it's been 15 minutes that the rice has been on Dhum, and I'm just going to turn my hob off, and I'm going to lift the lid to show you how it looks. Oh, absolutely wonderful. Right, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this with the lid on just as it is for the next 10 minutes. Now this is one thing to remember as well when you're working with rice. If you were to go in now and start moving the rice about, guaranteed the rice will break. So what you want to do is you want to give the rice time to settle a little. So move it away from the hob, which I'm going to do, and just let it rest for 10 minutes. And the other thing to look out for when you're working with rice and you're cooking rice is that when they're done fully and they're fully cooked, they'll start to stand up. And if you can see down here, you can see that the rice is kind of standing up on the surface, and that is another good indicator of good quality rice being cooked to perfection. So 2 tips for you there. Right, so I'm going to leave that for the next 10 minutes and I'm going to give you guys a closer look after 10 minutes.